Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Last week we finished the chapter regarding iqtisad, having moderation, keeping a balance in ibadah, in our worship, in our worldly matters, balancing our deen and dunya, balancing our relationship with the creation along with the relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Next is bab fil muhafadha ala al-a'mal. Now that we learned about moderation and we learned about balance, how to uphold this connection that has been built with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or with the creation, and in general upholding good deeds. The author starts off with the ayah in Surah Al-Hadith, أَلَمْ يَأْنِ لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا أَن تَخْشَعَ قُلُوبُهُمْ لِذِكْرِ اللَّهِ وَمَا نَزَلَ مِنَ الْحَقِّ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He is reminding the believers, He says, has the time not come for those who believe that their hearts submit to the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and وَمَا نَزَلَ مِنَ الْحَقِّ, and the truth that has been revealed. And then he gives a reminder that do not be وَلَا يَكُونُوا كَالَّذِينَ أُوتُوا الْكِتَابَ مِنْ قَبْلُ فَطَالَ عَلَيْهِمُ الْأَمَدُ فَقَسَتْ قُلُوبُهُمْ. That do not be like those who were given the book before, after which a long period of time elapsed and their hearts hardened. The next ayah that the author shares, وَلَا تَكُونُوا كَالَّتِي نَقَدَتْ غَزْلَهَا مِنْ بَعْدِ قُوَّةٍ أَنْكَاثًا. In Surah Al-Nahl, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives reference to the woman at the time of Jahiliyyah. One of the women, she used to do was they would spend the whole day, joining and knitting the yarn, right? Her and her children. And then when the evening would come, they would, all the hard work that they did, they would just rip it up and they would just waste it. Right? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is reminding the believer that don't be like a person who puts in lots of work and then just waste that effort at the end. And then the author shares the hadith that from Aisha radiallahu anha, that وَكَانَ أَحَبُّ الدِّينِ إِلَيْهِ مَا دَاوَمَ صَاحِبُهُ عَلَيْهِ. The words of Aisha radiallahu anha, that the most beloved obedience in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is that which a person steadfastly adheres to. They stick to that action. In the words of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that we've mentioned before, and we've covered this narration as well, that ahabbul a'mali ila Allah ta'ala adwamuha wa in qal. That the most beloved action to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are those that are consistent. Adwam, right? They are, the upkeep is there. And even wa in qal, even if it's just a little bit. And this is what the author is gonna, get to in these ahadith that are upcoming in this chapter. That we spoke about the moderation. We spoke about the connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We spoke about the connection with the creation. Now how do we keep that up and how do we build on that? Right? And this was part of actually the previous chapter as well when it came to moderation, is that if we take all this information and we try to apply it immediately, what will happen? Right? Within one day, we'll be burnt out. Within one day, everything will be done. Within a few days maximum. But if a person takes it as a journey and realizes that me as whatever level I'm at, whichever situation I'm in as a human being, I have to slowly progress. Just like how in the world we try to do something too quickly, right? Usually it will crash. Example is like, for example, this get rich quick. Right? What happens? All these get rich quick schemes, most of the time they're scams, right? There's no such thing. Right? There's always a process. There's steps. There's hardships along the way, and slowly, over time, through sacrifice, through sabr, through patience, through perseverance, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grants success in the world. Similarly, in the deen, it is the same thing. When the Sahaba the Iman was first brought to them and they were first taught about Islam and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the first many years, right, over a decade was spent just building Iman, just building a connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I can't remember the name of the Sahabi, I believe it was Ibn Umar radiallahu anhu, but I'm not sure, that he has said that, if the prohibition of zina and alcohol had come right in the beginning, right, then we would have just said no. We wouldn't have been able to follow it, right? But even though if you think about it, alcohol is such a serious action, right? Drinking alcohol, consuming alcohol. But the prohibition came way after. There was a process. There was they were step by step. They built their connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So each person is in that situation. And we have to keep this in mind when we're dealing with others as well. Many times we expect them to be at our level. Many times, for example, we're dealing with the youth that come to the masjid. Maybe this person is not wearing the best of clothes, or maybe they're not acting the best of ways. We may think of them at our level, and we'll treat them with a certain mindset. And what ends up happening is we end up scaring them away, and they end up getting actually farther away from the deen, even though our intention was good, but our method was wrong. So I don't want to end up into a whole different topic, but the point is that when we are dealing with anyone, or even when we're dealing with our own situation, our connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we take it step by step, we have moderation, and we work on our consistency. Through perseverance, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will grant us all success. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us steadfastness in whatever we do. Ameen wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد ان لا اله الا انت نستغفرك ونتوب اليك اللهم انت السلام ومنك السلام وتباركت ذا الجلال والاكرام ربنا اتنا في الدنيا حسنه وفي الاخره حسنه وقنا عذاب النار ربنا ظلمنا انفسنا وان لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين اللهم اجرنا من النار اللهم اجرنا من خزي الدنيا وعذاب الاخره اللهم قنا عذاب القبر وقنا عذاب الحشر وقنا فتنة المسيح الدجال لا إله إلا أنت سبحانك إنا كنا من الظالمين اللهم أعز الإسلام والمسلمين اللهم انصر المسلمين في كل مكان اللهم انصر إخواننا في فلسطين اللهم أعز الإسلام والمسلمين اللهم حرر المسجد الأقصى اللهم احفظ حرمين الشريفين اللهم إنا نسألك الهدى والتقى والعفاف والغنى اللهم إنا نسألك حبك وحب من يحبك وحب عمل يقربنا إلى حبك ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين اللهم إنا نسألك من خير ما سألك منه نبيك محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم ونعوذ بك من شر ما استعاذ منه نبيك محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وأنت المستعان وعليك البلاغ ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين برحمة الله. Inshallah, after the remaining Sunnah and Witr, the Tuesday Tilawah will be taking place. Inshallah, will be the second quarter of the first juz.